Morning, Daryl. Yeah, it's 2:09 in the morning, West Coast time. It's the 8th, March 2024. Not even live awake yet this morning. Yeah. Oh, stay away from the damn politics for right now. I cut the video. And checking out other videos related to it. There's a guy named Jared Fuller did a heart to heart with his kid concerning about his relationships issue. And Mara had a definitely had some serious questions concerning about this that I had tried to hear on the regular corporate media, as people would call it. And how many people had tried to commit themselves over the past, before and after COVID kicked in. And, as I kept saying before to a lot of people, history, history, history. Because it's not just Gen X or Gen Zers, it's the generation previous to that. They tried to get statistics on it, and they tried to talk about it back in the past. Had you ever heard on the regular media channels or read in the papers or in the magazines about how the youth were still trying to kill themselves? It's like they tried to hide this damn thing for something. We grew up in an era where suicide was almost unheard of, but the kids going through the thing, we'd hear it. We'd hear the usual remarks that, oh, it's just a phase, it's just a phase. We'd seen it. We both had seen it in our age group. We'd seen it in we'd seen it in our lives. How many people have had suicide affect us a great deal one way or another? And out there, we know, probably from personal experience, we had seen the people that we cared about either committed or had committed, or maybe they survived it. There was a story, one of my videos, Buried Alive in the Wind Files. There was one kid I remembered back in junior high, Jimmy Baker. His older brother, by a couple of years, was named Greg Baker. I was starting off with junior high back in '79. He was just a small kid. He was constantly picked on by his older brother. His older brother was ninth grade. He came across as an arrogant ass. I didn't like him. I liked Jimmy. Jimmy was a cool kid. There was another guy I called Too Tall because the kid looked like he was about 6 foot, 6 foot tall for a seventh grader. We're a motley crew. We went to Patrick Henry Junior High in Granada Hills, California. Jimmy, every time we were on recess or on lunch, we'd hang out, run into each other, talk with each other. And here comes Greg Baker trying to act all big and bad. He was just as short, if not maybe a few inches taller, but he was still a short kid compared to everybody else around. So he had to act big and bad and all that sort of stuff. He kept harassing him physically and bad mouthing him to a point. At the end of the semester, we had gotten we'd gotten an announcement overhead while we were in homeroom. There was condolences to the family of the Bakers for the loss of Jimmy Baker, according to the principal when he was talking about this one. When I heard that Jimmy had committed suicide, and they said it over the air. They said it over the overhead. It's like, the hell? It was kicking my ass on that one. It was kicking my ass, and I couldn't understand it. What the hell was that? What did that mean? He committed suicide. It took me a short minute or two to try to understand what the hell happened to him. I hadn't seen Greg after that. I hadn't seen him. In all the years, I never came across him ever again. All I know is in the junior high yearbook, and I wish to God I hadn't gotten rid of those damn things. That kicks my ass. Yearbooks are important, guys. Yearbooks are important. Connections to our past. But do you think anybody else would talk about it? No. The social media we had was word of mouth, and also if anybody else was making announcements one way or another, or if we're getting newsletters or anything else coming. Well, we never did get newsletters in school. Unless they felt it was necessary to notify us about one thing or another, but we never did. And what drove me crazy at that point was, did anybody give a hoot about it? And quite frankly, I don't think anybody else did. They forgot about him. Nobody talked about about Jimmy. And Too Tall, I never did see him again. I never did see him again. But I also knew what it was like getting picked on. I had that happen in junior high. What, just because sometimes I also craved loneliness and I picked out a book and I started reading and this one curly-headed, redhead dude was being worse than a chatterbox? Oh man, he drove me nuts in class and out of class. Got to a point where I had to talk to the principal about him and counselors about it. Ma tried to talk to the administrator, trying to move me away from this kid, but he still glommed onto me. That wasn't bad enough. I was going through puberty at the time, and what happens when you go through puberty? Your body's going through biological changes, not to mention facial changes. And for some reason, why is it us youth during that time had to go through acne? During the time, Roche Laboratories was creating this drug to combat it. They call it the wonder drug of it. But basically, it was, and nobody knew this until decades later, this was a cancer fighting drug, but also the effects of it was eliminating the skin's oils and deposits, shrinking them up, drying them out. Your skin looked great. So Roche packaged this as acne gold, pushed it down doctors' throats, dermatologists, GPs, internal meds, anybody else would buy the damn shit. But they didn't bother during those days to put this drug to the test like everything else. Before we get a drug, we have to have it go through blind tests, blind studies. We have to study this damn thing for years to make sure it's safe for the public. It's not going to have the side effects necessary to kill people. They didn't bother to do this one. They made a management decision during that time. Profit over health and death. With this particular drug that they actually had, they didn't bother to check if there was any statistics of survivors of using this damn drug. And in my case, I was going to be one of those statistics. Death by chemical poisoning. I had the emotional crap going on during those days. How was I going to get a girlfriend? But I was different on this one. As I tried to explain in a lot of my videos here, I was totally different. I already had faced death. So I had a different weird ass opinion on life and death during that time. I was scared to death of medical establishment. They called it white lab coat syndrome. Or doctors would just say, he's not tough enough, Marianne. He's got to toughen up. Dealing with old world doctors here. They had old world ideas. You got to be tough, you got to be tough, you got to be tough. You got to toughen out. Even the adults had it. Non-medical adults had to have it. Oh, yeah. Got to be tough. Doesn't matter if you're sensitive, you're screwed. It's no wonder Jimmy Baker died. I guess nobody else wanted to listen to him. Yeah, we were sensitive, but we weren't taught to be sensitive back in those days. In the 70s and 80s, you had to be tough. He just busted his face on a brick wall. Doesn't matter anything, Marianne. He's all right. He's a tough kid. He just got through heart surgery. I had a sadistic pediatrician on some occasions, but also a sadistic on some of the adults out there. I was grateful enough when I was in a Cub Scout meeting. It was going to be a sleepover, complete with swimming party. That got canceled out, especially when a nephew decided to use me as a fodder for him. We had a 4 foot above the surface tank water. I turned it into chum water. Kid pushed me over a platform. I hit the side, and I made the Red Sea. Canceled right there. Everybody had to leave. I went to the hospital to get some stitches in the face. It's faded now. Took it decades for that one to go away. I was an accident kid. I was an accident waiting for happening. So I didn't have the stigma concerning about if I'm going to be getting a girlfriend or not. I learned that fear was my basic companion and everybody else was out to kill me or get me in some way. But I had instances in my life growing up, even to the teenage years, of trying to make people friends or to stay the hell away from them. I didn't have those kind of anxieties like we have these days with the kids going through social media, but also going through other things. See, I think when we got the invention of social media, the kids have a way of expressing themselves in more ways than what they were able to do and able to talk to people about it, their own ages or even us adults about it. These kids, these generations, they weren't grown up. They weren't taught like us to be tough. We had to be tough. We had to be tough. So if I had my pediatrician back then, or even some of the adults I had been experiencing with back then, they wouldn't get it. They would look at Mari and others like him and say, "I don't get it with you. You got all this stuff and you can't even get it together. What's with you?" Try this one. You ever heard of the tune "Get a haircut and get a real job"? Yeah, I'm sending this one over to Mari on this one. I think it was thorough good on that one. And I gotta double check this one here. Go over to YouTube on this. Oh, this was our theme song during those days. I was a young man in my 20s, and this was the theme song. Here we go. George Thorogood. Oh, yeah. What was it about George Thorogood that got to my generation, dude? Think about it, Daryl. Think about it, dude. And I'll pass this one over to Mari on this one. So I'm going to say to him, you worried about your lifestyle. You're worried about whether or not if your kids were going to be acceptable or not. If you're going to be getting a girlfriend before or after 23. Jeez. I had girls coming on me and I'm a nerd. Oh, good Lord, I'm a nerd. I mean, I dressed like a nerd. I didn't dress up with those shirts with the pocket protectors on the damn thing. I had t-shirts. I had jeans. I had tennis shoes on. A bit of a rough haircut. My mom always wanted my hair medium cut or medium short and combed. And I had these weird ass glasses on. So yeah, I was a nice guy. Mari, I'm a nice guy. Oh, good Lord. I gotta laugh at myself on that one. And yeah, I did have girlfriends, but I didn't have the girlfriend. What's the difference? Distance and fear makes one isolated and alone. Believe me, I get you on that one. You worry about what's going on in the rest of the world getting too damn big and scary for you. Try being overwhelmed by a lot of cultural aspects being placed upon you, certain expectations. Now, you look like you are Mr. Mari. You hadn't been scarred enough. What I mean, don't take it offense. Let's get into this one here, kid. Emotionally, yeah, you're dealing with a hell of a lot of crap you're seeing in social media, but you're also seeing in regular media and wondering what the hell is going on with you and the rest of the world. How do you fit in this damn crap? Well, we've done it before. Well, we had our adults out there, our role models out there, trying to tell us that we have to get our act together. We were growing up in different generations and different mindsets left and right. These days, you guys have instant access to a lot of stuff and gone through a lot of behavioral changes that we had to suffer through. For example, I'm going to raise this one up on you. It's going to be a long video rant. You ever had your butt paddled? Yeah. Not because you're crying. Maybe you did a mistake somewhere or something you did and you get your ass paddled for it. Whatever it was. Or I can be the adult right now and I can look at you and I can look past you and I can brush right against you. Well, no, I'll push you on the deck there and call it ghosting your ass. The silent treatment. Whatever you're yelling and screaming at my ear, it doesn't matter because if you pissed me off that badly and I'm running right over your ass, you don't matter. Hello. I heard you, Ma. Little dog again. She's going through dementia right now. Guys, a couple of seconds while I do a timeout and deal with my own little issue here. You get older, sometimes you're going to need a bit of a constant companion to drive you nuts. I suggest you get a family pet. I suggest you get the family pet to really put you through your paces. I'm a dog man. I've been a dog man ever since I was a young kid. About 5 or 6. So I've had dogs all my life. They're important to me. They're part of my family. Actually, they are family. And they are a responsibility to take care of. You grow to love them. You grow to have your heart broken many times over because when you get a dog and they're going through the paces, maybe about 12, 15, 20 years, they'll break your hearts. But you'll be glad that they were a part of your life. They enrich your life. That's a hell of a long life struggle, I'll tell you that much. So if I want a relationship, I got a dog. I mean, I have a girlfriend, but I got a dog. Speaking of which, I said it before. Was I actually a nerd in those days? Yes, I did. I really did. Lanky, not too thin, not too. Just, I'm just shoulder shrubs right here. I'm just going through school, backpack, trying not to get pushed by other people because they see this kid with low confidence. I mean, if you see the higher confidence, you'll see the swagger sometimes in the school, the junior high and the senior high. Elementary school, those fights. Moving from one neighborhood to another neighborhood, try to get used to the area, and then you discover the flip side of life, and you start learning how to be angry and hateful at your fellow students sometimes, but only at individuals, not the race itself. And I had wonderful extended family I grew up with for most of my life. I try to keep a contact with them, but things happen in life that we have gone physically apart, and sometimes I think other ways apart. But I think if I still have the love for them, and I do, it's still in here. So it's people that you grow up with that actually matter the most. You call them brothers and sisters. And I had brothers and sisters. I had an extended family that were brothers and sisters. I had a genetic bloodline brother. God rest his soul. That's my life. He's 8 years older than I own. But he didn't pick on me. He was my protector. He was my protector. I'd seen him go through hell in a handbasket. I'd seen him go through hell of addiction, but I've also seen him go through many years of recovery. He died clean and sober, 32 years, and God, I miss him and my mother a great deal. You get older at my age here, Mark, there's going to be a lot of things and a lot of people that you're going to be missing left and right. I've lost too many people and pets in my lifetime. You want to hear about suicide? You have to close in and wall in your emotions in the life in the times I lived in and me and Daryl had lived in. Because you weren't allowed to express yourself. At least not that much anyway. And nobody was paying attention as much. They never did uh, do published studies about how the young kids were dealing and faring those days. They didn't give a hoot. Different times, different attitudes, different viewpoints. Yeah, we wanted money. We wanted the good life. We wanted cars. We wanted money. We wanted good. You want to hear about the hype on this one? 1980s through the 90s. The lifestyles of the rich and famous. Worse than that, Mari. Worse than that. The television series that you saw from the 70s and 80s and 90s, guess what we grew up under? Oh, yeah. Sex sells. And if you weren't hip, slick, and anything else, well, you're just an average nerd, are you? You're just a kid. You're just who the hell do you think you are, boy? Hmm? Yeah, that's what we grew up under. I mean, if you weren't looking like David Hasselhoff and the guy going over his car, fighting crime, you're not like the Knight Rider. Or worse, you become Beefcake and show it off on the beach. Baywatch. All these physical specimens that you see, like they're shoom. And then the women. Oh, you think you had it bad? Oh, God. Oh, man. The stigmas, the social stigmas we had to live with. The songs we listened to. Not this R&B stuff that they're trying to cook up these days, talking about their emotions. No, 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 no. I'm talking about the ones with feelings and music, and they put things into words. That's why I brought out George Thorogood and the Destroyers. Get a haircut, get a real job. Or just get a haircut, what is the name of it? Go to your YouTube, Look at this thing. Listen to it. Just don't look at the video. Just listen to it. This is the music we listen to. Part of it, anyway. Your grandparents, my parents, and my grandparents, great grandparents, would listen to the Beatles, the British invasion that we had during that time. My grandmother's time was the big band era of Glenn Miller. Who? Ooh. Generational gap problems on that one, that's for damn sure. Each generation has their own way of dealing with whatever the hell they're dealing with. They think they don't know the kids, but they know it to a point. The kids want always the new. They want exciting. They see the old, it's like, ugh. And then they get their asses smacked around left and right because they weren't what the older generation expects. So we heard the expression throughout our lifetimes. Daryl, back me up on this one. Now you get old and you get to be an old fart and you get to remember old fart things and go nuts at this point over here. In my day, this is what we've gone through. You kids go through things today. Kids today. Things like that. We heard this one before, Daryl. So it's not surprising that Mari and a generation are still scratching their heads over this old farts over here, trying to confuse that we don't know what the hell they're going through. Believe me, we do. But Daryl and I were growing up through the digital age as it was being created and shoved out to the world, and now you kids are reaping it. You kids have this realm to go through, worse than going through those massive role-playing games that you guys got out there, and these medieval and mystical worlds out there of virtual reality. Your virtual reality is reality right now as it is. You can talk about it in your stuff, but you're still having problems person to person because here's the thing, kid. What are we doing right now? We're using digital. We're using a digital domain to communicate with each other. Not next to each other. No wonder you kids are confused about this one. Because, Daryl, back me up on this one, please, because you've been trying to do that in your videos, telling us about your lives left and right. You did things face to face. You had people in your face. You had people walking with you side by side. You had the personal human contact. And for a guy like me, I was trying to avoid that kind of stuff because of fear. I was afraid of living. I was afraid of dying. I was afraid of everything. I tried to have friends. I tried to be part of a family. I tried to be part of something that I didn't even understand what the hell was going on. And your age, without the social media, it was hard enough to talk to my mother and my brother what the hell was going on inside of me because I didn't know what the hell was going on inside of me. I really didn't. And then I had to toughen it up. I look at you, kid, and I'm thinking, you would never have, your generation would have never survived in our older generation that we grew up in because you haven't grown up with the mental games, with the mindset, with all the crap we had to listen to about being toughened up and how to work in this environment. Go out there and work. It's bad enough when you go into college systems and you have these old farts. Let's say I am Professor such and such, and this is our topic for today. This is what we're going to be listening and yada 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 yada. Do you understand me? Excuse me, young man, you're sleeping there. Wake up. Do you have coffee with you? Wake up. This is first day of school. You do not sleep in my classroom here. You're more than welcome to leave. Somebody else will take your seat. Welcome to College Life 101. even at a community college level. You're worried about girls during those days? You're worried about going through the high school and whether or not you're actually going to get a girlfriend or not. As I said before, I had two or three girls who knew I was terrified of everything. And they were friends. But they wanted to kiss me. I was living in this house about a few minutes away from the high school. During the summertime, they'd come over. Or actually after school. And, damn bug war. I'm still dealing with the cockroaches here. Oh, long story short on those damn things. These bugs are all over the frickin' place. I gotta working in their damn joy juice for them. Anyway. And these three girls wanted to see if they can kiss me. They chased me up a tree. They chased me up a tree. I've already had enough of situations as a kid growing up. Why do I need this damn stuff? But Johnny, we want a kiss from you. Come down here. Dave! Dave! Dave's looking out through the windows like, I'm not helping you. You're on your own. Hey, when he watches that thing, he's laughing his ass off on this shit. I'm, I'm, I'm saying my friends, like, but Johnny, we want to give you a kiss. I'm like, no, you don't. One thing I'd get a kiss from Ma, that was it. My brother, nothing. Until we got into adults. Until we actually had a closer bond than anything else, and we would tell each other, I got your back, you got my back, brother dear. Well, they were disappointed. They were laughing their heads off, and I got down, humiliated, mortified, and then relieved when I was in my bedroom trying to soothe my hyperventilating. You know, it may have been funny at this time as an adult, but during that time as a kid and your age, terrified. A romantic relationship? Me, Mr. Fear? Are you kidding me? You wonder how come so many kids are dying off these days. A lot of social changes have been happening. A lot of changes politically has been happening these days. But your kids are going through changes in your life that you don't even can't even grasp. Chemical, biochemical. Whatever it is that we go through puberty, when we're going through growth stages, not to mention changing our brains, changing our behavior patterns, we have everything in the external trying to make a difference in our lives one way or another. We're getting exposed to a lot of things that we're not equipped with. You, Mari, are growing up on the digital realm. Everything is instantaneous. In my day, instantaneous was the newspaper, but also cable television, but also seeing things outside my door. I didn't have this constantly stuck to me as I do these days. I'm not attributing your thoughts of inadequacies concerning about social media, but I know a lot of adults will. It's something we all have to get through, and we all try to figure out what the hell is going on. The doctors will try to find some kind of chemical reason, something about your brains or something like that in your bloodstream or something in your neurochemistry. The parents are scratching their heads out trying to figure out, well, it's just a phase that they're going through. Is it? Well, we had our phases going through, but sometimes they didn't have an adequate answer for it either because they've gone through it and they still can't find it. Mine, I had to do in-depth study for me in my later adult life trying to figure my kid out. Because when I was a kid, I didn't know how to talk to him. Believe it or not, Mari, I never been able to talk to Ma about things like this. I didn't have a father. I had a biological sperm donor. I had a hit and run. The story was off the coast of Catalina, there was a yacht that my biological sperm donor had at one time, and he was making an impression on my mother to the point where I was conceived off the coast of Catalina. They called it the 1960s term, love child. Daryl in his generation would understand that one. My mother would tell me the stories from time to time before she passed. I still didn't believe her. But I hold on to this particular story about my biological. I do know that he was a hit and run. He had my mother, and then when she got pregnant with me, he ran like the cowardly cur. Never bothered to call or contact about his result. Age of 5 years old, Ma calls him and wants me to be introduced to him, and he hangs up on me. I hadn't heard, seen, read anything. He disappeared like a fart in the wind. So yeah, I didn't have a male dominating influence in my life. I only had my mother, but I had an older brother as well. Tried to be a big brother as best as he could. Until the time he went into the military, had several years of adventures, misadventures, and anything else coming out as a mental vegetable. Not like what we consider mental vegetables these days. No, a lot of things happening in his military career that turned him into a PTSD time bomb. That decades later, he would be having conniption fits left and right and be under constant medications for it. Some things to look for, not to look forward to, my friend. Anyway, I think I bluttered enough on this one here. What do you think, Daryl? Another video? Yeah, probably.